Actor Jussie Smollett continues to make headlines after charges that he staged a hate crime attack on himself in Chicago. So the incident brings up many different legal questions. So in today's Injuries Are Personal, we ask our legal expert, Attorney Carl Reynolds, more about the case. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
What is the most serious charge that Jussie Smollett is facing?
Well, currently the only charge he's facing is disorderly conduct, and within that is a false report to the police. But in Illinois, that's actually a felony. If it happened in Florida, actually, it would be a first-degree misdemeanor. So
big difference.
A big difference. So in Illinois, it could carry up to a sentence of 3 years in prison and substantial fines. The real issue, though, is the story about the fact that he had sent himself something in the mail a few days before.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So he is also accused of mailing a threatening letter to the Empire cast or studio where he works that contained a powdered substance, which I believe at this point we think was like a painkiller, illegal painkiller ground up. Something to look like something bad, though.
Correct.
What's the problem with mailing that?
Well, that's huge. Now, first of all, as an attorney, I got to give full disclaimer. Innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about it in an alleged sense. But if facts are as they've been alleged, if he truly sent himself this hate letter, now you're dealing with federal law, and the FBI gets involved, and that carries with it much more substantial and significant penalties. So if you send yourself or if you send a threatening communication through the mail, that's a crime. If you send a injurious substance or substance intended to injure, that's a separate crime. Or if you put forth a hoax intended to seem like you're going to injure or something, that's also a third crime. So he couldn't really injure himself because he sent it to himself. So he wouldn't be guilty of that.
And it was a harmless substance.
And it was a harmless substance. However, the hoax issue, that's going to be the key. And if prosecutors can prove that, he could face substantial penalties and jail time.
So here's perhaps a takeaway is that, you know, obviously the issue.
Don't do it.
Yeah, well, okay, obviously don't do it. You know, what happened with the police and the upsetting of involving that many officials, but the actual penalty is steeper anything that involves the mail.
Correct.
Mail is highly protected. Sure,
because it harkens back to when that was the way things were conveyed, messages were conveyed. And so any interference with that is a substantial and significant crime, especially when people are, you know, these mail carriers think they're potentially carrying around some substance that could cause great harm. Sure, it's a very significant crime. The FBI gets involved, and substantial resources are diverted to it, because initially with that hate mail, a lot of people investigated. He was calling for investigation. He didn't quite, I guess, get the publicity he wanted, or maybe the increase in pay he wanted. So then he hired a couple guys, and apparently looks like they're going to turn on him, according to their defense attorney.
So burden of proof always on the prosecution. In this case, what does the prosecution have to prove so that any of these significant concerns can stick?
Well, and that's significant because it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And he has some past history with this Osundario brothers. They were trainers, I guess, previously, and I guess he's stating that the check was for some sort of training. However, in today's day and age, you got to be cognizant of the fact that there's video evidence everywhere. And I think that's where they've got them, because they've got them at the scene. They were able to track the taxi that took them away from the scene. The taxi driver had a dash cam, and so those guys are right there, puts them at the crime. They're the perpetrators. They're facing being charged with a hate crime, and so instead of facing prison time themselves, it looks like they're going to flip on Jussie and basically say that he did this. Now, interestingly enough, if Jussie can prove that their remarks are defamatory, he might have a defamation claim against them.
Back at them.
Right.
So the legal part of this
he would also have the standard of proof to basically prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Defamation or slander. All right. So the legal stuff is just beginning, but I think the bottom line is we understand that federal and mail crimes, a very big deal.
Very big deal.
And something
it's just a sad thing.
Watching.
You know,
it's been very sad.
It's very sad.
On many levels, I think it's very, very sad. We appreciate you being here to give us more details. For any information about any legal questions, go to injuriesarepersonal.com with Carl Reynolds Law. We'll be right back.